Hey everybody, this is Pete Bartolozzi welcoming you to another Nuggets, Gems, and Pearls from God's Word. Today's pearl is entitled, Casting All Your Care, Part 3. And we're going to look at 1 Peter again, chapter 5, but I want to begin by looking at the latter half of verse 5 and also verse 6, as it actually leads into the statement of verse 7 of casting all your care upon Him. So the latter half of 5 says, God resists the proud and gives grace to the humble. Humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of God, that He may exalt you in due time. The thought begins with the fact that God resists the proud, but gives grace to the humble. The grace of God is where your answer is, where our answer is, where our victory is. And God gives grace to the humble, which means God does not give grace to the proud. Well, we know that salvation is by grace through faith. Salvation is all that God has provided for us through Jesus. So healing is by grace. Deliverance is by grace. Peace is by grace. Answered prayer is by grace. Everything is by grace. And God gives grace to the humble. So if we want the grace of God, we need humility in our lives. So what is humility? Well, it goes on in verse 7 saying, casting all your care upon Him. Notice the thought here. Humble yourself, casting. Now, my interlinear brings the translation out a little more clearly as it reads this way. Be humbled, therefore, under the mighty hand of God, all your care having cast upon Him. The word casting is in the aorist tense of Greek grammar, which is a past tense form of Greek verbs. So casting our care is something we need to quickly get into the past tense action of our lives and remain there. So again, it says, humble yourselves having cast. In other words, this is how you humble yourself under the mighty hand of God, by casting your care upon Him. Casting your care upon Him is saying, God, this is too big for me. You take it, no matter how small it may be. I tend to believe that all of us have at one time or another hung onto a care that seemed small to us. But all of a sudden, it grew into a much bigger care. So just give it to Him when it's small so He can work on it before it becomes big. This is humbling yourself under God's mighty hand. So by casting your care upon Him, you're humbling yourself under His mighty hand. Being under His mighty hand doesn't just mean that His hand is just there. It means that His mighty hand is at work for you. One minister spoke of being taken to heaven and brought before the throne of God. And there was an angel flying around the throne. And he saw that God just moved his little pinky like that. And by just moving his pinky like that, there was such power released from that it hit that angel and slung him up against the wall. Now, don't be concerned about that angel, because just like when you and I get hit by the power of God afterwards, we're thinking, do it again, God, do it again. My point is this. If just his little pinky moving can release such power, how much power is released with His whole mighty hand at work for us? It seems to me that when we cast our care upon Him, that we can be assured of His answer, an outcome in our favor. And I offer this as something to think about today. Be blessed.